Threat intelligence, it is today, and it always has been pivotal in cybersecurity. For all the complexities and vulnerabilities and the deeply technical stuff that we hear about in the news, that's reported, that's logged, ultimately it all boils down to threat intelligence. And this is something that even the tough competitors like Fortinet and Palo Alto, McAfee and Symantec back in 2017, they set up the Cyber Threat Alliance. So they realized, even though we're competitors to each other, we're chasing the same revenue, it's very important to be able to work with each other and share that information. And obviously, underpinning everything in threat intelligence, it has to be good quality data. So this is where companies that have been doing cybersecurity for a long time, like Fortinet have been doing for over 20 years, good data, good classified data is essential in threat intelligence. So yeah, it plays a huge part. When a new vulnerability or threat is seen across the world, the ability to be able to protect against that threat is how quickly you can share good threat intel to your customers and amongst your peers as well. You can never be a standalone island in cybersecurity. You have to collaborate and you have to share threat intel, good threat intel. So definitely it makes a difference. So there's always some grey areas in cybersecurity depending on where you look at it, how you look at it. But with threat intel, there's really no downsides to it. If there is, something that you need to be cautious of, it's the overwhelming amount of data that's out there. But this is where collaboration with your peers comes in. This is where artificial intelligence and machine learning can really help. But absolutely, with the rate of global digitization, nobody can do everything by themselves. They have to work with each other, and it definitely makes, as long as you have the right threat information for your organization and your customers and your partners, it's essential. It makes a big difference. Being able to, even if there's not fully baked information available in regards to a specific vulnerability or ransomware, even if you have little fragments or pieces of the jigsaw, they play a big part in offering protection. So if you don't have the full debug or metadata for a vulnerability, but the CNC servers that are being talked to, the botnets, or the threat actors that are actually involved in this vulnerability, these little fragments are best shared via threat intelligence. Instead of actually creating a full IPS or AV or EDR type signature, or EDR behavior detection, sometimes when you've only got small parts of the jigsaw, it plays a really big part. It plays a huge part in protecting against that threat or vulnerability. So yeah, it is today, and it always has been a significant part of the cyber security, protection portfolio for vendors, for customers, for partners, for everyone. So it's thankfully it's not a red hot topic from a industry point of view, and sometimes that helps. Where things like you have specific subject areas that are really talked about by every single vendor, then sometimes it's difficult to have a good conversation because everyone's got their own opinion. AI is absolutely needed today, but because it's not so much in the focus of the media, the industry, of the vendors, you can actually have what we would consider like a normal conversation without the vendors competing for the latest buzzwords. So for us as Fortinet, and I would imagine for most other vendors, it's an essential part of being able to keep up with the level of data that we receive. I mentioned in my presentation, personally and professionally, we're just overwhelmed digitally. The messages, the data, the communication, we're always online, always available. And the only way we can process that is that we need support. Thankfully, we've moved away from not silly conversations, but there was a trend, including us as a vendor. We'd say, the AI is developing so much, it can replace your engineers. As we all know, there's a huge cyber skills, there's a huge gap and skill shortage in cybersecurity. The guys and gals that you do have working, the low level and deep engineers, they're overstressed, they're overworked, and they're dealing with too much data. For the sake of their sanity and to prevent yourself being outpaced, you need AI. But you always need good AI, and for good AI, you need good machine learning, good data, and this is where we think there's a lot of developments. Even as vendors, as a vendor, we find it's best to have honest discussions because there's no model which is perfect. You're always constantly evolving and trying to understand which model is the best one to use, whether you need to upgrade, think laterally, downgrade even potentially if you're getting too many false positives. But yes, it's definitely in a place where it can support, organizations and more importantly, the SecOps engineers. What AI should be is like a virtual security analyst. Instead of being a technology to replace your analyst is busy. You still really want the big decisions to be made by the human. Now, obviously that allows for human bias and perception and how they read it. But ultimately you want a huge volume of data to be analyzed by a machine and then presented almost on a plate to your SecOps engineer. And that guy or gal can say, yes, this needs immediate actioning, or actually I'm not sure, but this is good data, I need to analyze this a little bit more. That's where it should be today. Definitely, we never advocate that, leave it all to the machines. Our updates are all machine to machine, but with the really advanced threats, what you want to be able to do is large volumes of data be crunched by the machine and presented to your SecOps or NOC engineer, and then they use that data. What we don't advocate is the machines to do all the data processing and then call another machine to start blocking IP addresses, users, cutting off business divisions. Maybe, in the future, maybe, something like that. We may evolve to that stage, but not for the foreseeable. Your SecOps engineers support, SecOps engineers need support, and there's not enough SecOps engineers out there to hire to support them, so we need to rely on the machines to support them. So it's that virtual security analyst functionality that the AI provides. That's key. And yes, that's good enough to use by organizations. But like I said, we never advocate machine-to-machine communication and then automatic remediation and automation from there. You always need some level of human engagement for the foreseeable future anyway.